The rain was falling hard that night, the kind of rain that soaks into your bones and makes the world feel smaller and heavier. When a tired single father pulled his old car onto the side of the road and noticed a woman standing alone under a broken streetlight, her heels sinking into mud, her eyes filled with quiet panic. He did not know her name, her status, or the storm she carried inside. All he knew was that she looked stranded, and walking away would have been easier than stopping. That single decision, made in the middle of the night, would change both of their lives forever. Before we go deeper into this story of kindness, struggle, and unexpected fate, take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel, Lonely Dad's Strong Heart, if you believe that kindness still matters and that everyone deserves a second chance in life. He was a man shaped by responsibility and loss. A single dad raising a young child alone after life had taken everything familiar from him. His days started before sunrise and ended long after exhaustion had already claimed him. He worked at a large company in a low-paying position, the kind where your name is rarely remembered and your efforts are expected but never praised. Every paycheck was carefully divided between rent, food, school supplies, and the small comforts he tried to give his child so they would not feel the weight of his sacrifices. His dreams had been quietly folded away, not abandoned, just postponed for survival. That night, he had stayed late at work, picking up extra hours because his child needed new shoes. The city roads were nearly empty, washed clean by rain, reflecting lights like broken stars. When he saw the woman stranded, his first instinct was to keep driving. He was tired, broke, and cautious. Life had taught him that helping others sometimes came at a cost he could not afford. But something about her posture, the way she tried to look strong while clearly overwhelmed, reminded him of how his life had once unraveled without warning. He stopped. Not as a hero, not expecting gratitude or reward, but simply because he knew what it felt like to be alone when everything seemed to fall apart. She was shaken, her phone dead, her car broken down miles away from any open place. The rain had ruined her expensive clothes, though he did not notice their value at the time. To him, she was just another human caught in a bad moment. He offered what little he had: a ride, warmth, reassurance. He drove her to a nearby safe place, making sure she was no longer alone in the storm. There was no exchange of names, no dramatic moment of connection. Just quiet relief, tired smiles, and a simple goodbye before he drove back into the night, thinking nothing more of it. When he reached home, his child was asleep, curled up under a blanket. He sat beside the bed for a moment, listening to the steady breathing that reminded him why he kept going. Helping that woman felt like a small, almost invisible act in a life full of struggle. He never imagined it would matter beyond that night. The next morning arrived with its usual pressure. He rushed through his routine, prepared breakfast, dropped his child at school, and headed to work. That day felt different from the start. There was tension in the air at the office, whispers moving through hallways, supervisors unusually alert. Rumors spread quickly that the company's CEO was visiting unexpectedly. For most employees, this meant stress and fear. For him, it meant nothing more than staying invisible and doing his job as usual. He sat at his desk, focused, trying not to draw attention, when the atmosphere shifted. Executives gathered, people stood straighter, and the room fell into a respectful silence. When she walked in, the world seemed to slow. It was the woman from the rain. Except now she was composed, powerful, and surrounded by authority. The tired, stranded figure from the night before had transformed into the CEO of the company. His heart dropped. His mind raced. He questioned his memory, his exhaustion, his sanity. But there was no doubt. It was her. She scanned the room, professional and calm, until her eyes landed on him. For just a brief moment, something softened in her expression. Recognition flickered. No one else noticed, but he did. That silent acknowledgement carried more weight than words ever could. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Fear crept into his thoughts. Had he said something wrong that night? Had he crossed a line? Would helping her now cost him his job? He had nothing to fall back on if things went wrong. His child depended on him entirely. But instead of consequences, something unexpected happened. In the following days, small changes appeared. Management became more attentive. Policies shifted quietly. Employees were treated with more respect. Then one afternoon, he was called into a meeting. His hands shook as he walked down the hall, imagining worst-case scenarios. The meeting was not about mistakes. It was about potential. The CEO had asked to review the files of employees who consistently worked overtime, those who carried heavy personal responsibilities while maintaining strong performance. His name had surfaced. His dedication, once invisible, had finally been seen. She remembered the man who stopped in the rain without knowing who she was. She remembered the humility, the absence of expectation, the kindness that came from character rather than advantage. That night had reminded her of something she had nearly lost while climbing to the top, the human side of success. Opportunities opened slowly but surely. He was offered training, support, flexibility to care for his child. His financial pressure eased for the first time in years. It was not charity. It was recognition. As his life began to stabilize, his confidence returned. He became more present as a father, more hopeful as a person. His child noticed the change, even if they did not understand it fully. Laughter returned to their home. Meals felt warmer. The future no longer felt like a dark tunnel but a road with possibilities. For the CEO, that night in the rain stayed with her too. It changed how she led. She began focusing on people, not just profits. She encouraged empathy, understanding that behind every employee badge was a story, a struggle, a life. Their paths crossed again many times, always professional, always respectful, but bound by a shared moment that neither forgot. A moment that proved how one simple act of kindness, done without expectation, could ripple through lives in ways no one could predict. As the years passed, the single dad was no longer just surviving. He was building something, not just a career, but a stable, loving life for his child. He taught them values not through speeches, but through example. Kindness, responsibility, courage. And every time it rained, he remembered that night. Not as the moment everything magically changed, but as the moment he chose to remain human in a world that often rewards indifference. If this story has started to touch your heart even a little, pause for a moment and think about the times you helped someone without knowing why it mattered. And if it's already moving you, don't forget to support the channel by liking and sharing this video. Life does not always reward kindness immediately. Sometimes it tests it, stretches it, hides its impact behind silence and struggle. But kindness has a way of finding its way back, often when we need it most. Before we reach the end, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and share what kindness means to you, or a moment when helping someone changed your life, even in a small way. In the end, this story is not about a CEO or a promotion. It is about a tired father who stopped his car in the rain because his heart told him to. It is about a woman who remembered what mattered when someone helped her without knowing her title. And it is about how one quiet decision can slowly rewrite an entire future. If this story touched your heart, moved you emotionally, or reminded you that goodness still exists in the world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Lonely Dad's Strong Heart. Your support keeps these stories alive, and your kindness continues the ripple that began on a rainy night.